Hello, Brother Nashi. How are you? Please post my story is anonymous. I am a 46-year-old woman. I sold my own South African identity to a Nigerian man that I got married to when I was still very young. I only asked for a divorce after he had gotten his papers because of the things that were happening to his life and in our home, and for the fact that whenever I would fall pregnant, that pregnancy will just vanish, no blood, nothing. When I say that I give up, this was when I was on the ninth pregnancy. I was in the seventh month and I woke up and there was no more big stomach. It was gone. And in my dream, I saw my husband. He came to me, but when he came to me, he was with four other doctors that were wearing black coats. I had never seen a doctor that wears a black coat. Only doctors that I have seen, they wear white, but these ones, they were wearing black from top to bottom. They came and they were hiding their faces, and in front of their faces there was a little cloud that was dancing in front of them because they did not want me to recognize them for whom they were. And then they took me to a theater, but when I was sleeping on top of that stretcher bed as they were pushing me to the theater room, I noticed and I saw that this hospital, it was too old and it seemed as if it was no longer functional, and it seemed as if I was no longer in South Africa because I saw that the boards that were in the corridors, they were not written in English but in another language that seemed like Arabic, even though I do not know how it is written. I'm just thinking of the things that I saw in my dreams. And then when we arrived in the theater room, I saw that there was another woman that was being brought out by her husband. She looked at me, then she whispered my name and she said, "Run." Then I woke up, I got up from the theater bed that I was on top of. And then when I was running, in your dreams, you might be running in slow motion. So as I was trying to escape, before I could even leave the corridor from the theater, I was running in slow motion, and then they caught me. They brought me back into that same room. And as I was having this dream, until they finally made me to give birth in that same hospital, I would wake up. Like when I heard that woman saying, "Run," I woke up and then I said, "Oh, it is just a nightmare." When I returned back to sleep, that dream, it continued off from where I had left it until when I heard the cry of a baby who was a baby boy. And then I woke up. When I woke up, the pregnancy was gone. I screamed. Then my husband, he was downstairs. He was like, "What's wrong?" And he came. He was not even running. "You have a pregnant woman who is upstairs. You are working busy on your computer downstairs, and then you hear that your wife is busy screaming on top of her voice. You are supposed to run, right? Like you are a caring husband." But what he did on that day, it really surprised me. He did not run. He did not do anything. He just came walking. He was holding a cup of coffee. He placed it, and then when he had placed it down, he came to where I was and he said, "What is wrong?" He was not even concerned. He did not show any emotions at all to me. And then I told him about the dream, and he said to me, "Oh, so that is why you were screaming. Dreams are dreams. Don't you know that when you are pregnant, you can even have dreams about things happening to you? It does not mean that every time that you have a dream when you are pregnant, that is going to happen." And I was like, "I am no longer pregnant." He laughed at me and he said, "Why are you saying that you are no longer pregnant?" And I told him that I could not feel my stomach anymore because it felt as if someone had operated on me. He said, "Your stomach," as he was touching my stomach, and he said, "Your stomach is still there." And I said, "No, I say that my stomach is no longer big as it used to be. Where is the baby?" And he was like, "Oh, the baby, yeah, the baby is no longer there. So what are we supposed to do?" He was acting as if he was an idiot who really had no emotions at all. That was when I saw that this was the time to walk away from this relationship. So this is how I met this Nigerian guy. When I was still going to college, my cousin had been working for this other Indian man who had a big shop where you could buy things in bulk. So he then spoke with the Indian boss and said that I have my own cousin who is going to college. She is asking for some casual work. So per week, I would go there and work for about 3 days cleaning. And that is when I became friends with one guy. He started by proposing to me. I agreed, but it did not work out, the relationship that we had. So the Indians, they are always staying in their own suburbs. And the Nigerian guy, whom I later got married to, he was staying in that same area. So when I would go there to visit my boyfriend who was from Pakistan, then I would meet the Nigerian guy. He would stop his car, he would speak with me, ask my name, telling me that I'm so beautiful to be walking on foot. And then he captured my heart and I agreed to date him. We then started dating, and one thing led to another. He then told me that he was facing some difficulties in his business. I said, "What kind of difficulties are you facing in your business?" He then told me that since he did not have any papers, it was difficult for him to do things that he wanted to do, to access money as well from the bank because he did not have papers. And I said, "How about you just use your money to bribe someone at the Home Affairs?" It was like, "No, things don't work that way. It does not mean that if you have money, you can do what you want." And I said, "Okay, it's fine. What am I supposed to do?" He said, "Since I want you to become my wife, how about we just go to court and we get married?" I did not understand anything what we were doing, but I was selling my South African identity to the Nigerian guy. He took me to a white lawyer who explained the whole process to me. Then I returned back home and I spoke with my mother. My mother refused and she said, "Unless if you give us money." So the guy then was charged 60,000 by my parents because they said that they cannot allow their daughter to get married without them eating any single cent from their in-law. So the money was organized and raised. 60,000 was paid for my lobola the first time around, and my mom demanded more after that, saying that it is too little. Your husband has a lot of money. Then before our wedding, he had to pay more money on top of the 60,000. So that is how we sold my South African identity so that my parents can get what they want and I can also get money. And we then went to court. We had a court wedding. We got married. After we had gotten married, then we started to stay together. By then, I had lost a pregnancy when we were still dating, as we were about to get married a couple of months before the marriage. I also wanted to dump him because I had a weird dream. I saw him and his father. His father was walking behind him, but it was as if his father was his slave because his father was chained with a big rope and he was dragging him behind. And then they entered into the bedroom where I was sleeping. So when I called out his name, he was shocked. And he said, "Oh, so you can see me." Then he threw a black blanket that covered me. I woke up, I was screaming. I was with my sister on that night. I was at her home. Her husband, they had been fighting, so she had called me to fix the issue. So we slept in her bedroom, her husband in another bedroom because they were not talking to each other. So when I woke up, I screamed and she then asked me what was wrong, what had happened. And then I told her that I had this weird dream, and she asked me what kind of a weird dream it was. And then I told her that this weird dream that I had was that I had seen my husband to be, he was walking with his father, but he was dragging his father behind him as if the father was some slave of his or an animal that he had captured. And when I recognized that it was him, he got angry at me. Then he threw a heavy blanket that fell on top of me and it started to suffocate me until I felt like I was about to die. So it was like, how could you see me in my dreams? And after a couple of days, that was when I had a miscarriage. I was thinking about it and I said, I do not want to get married to this Nigerian guy, but because of money, I went ahead with the marriage. And the warnings were there. There was even one of my best friends. I just told her that I have a miscarriage and I am about to get married to my fiance. She did not even know that he was Nigerian. And he was like, yo, this is something that is never supposed to happen. When you are about to get married, your ancestors, they are supposed to work together so as to protect the baby that is inside of your womb. It means that your ancestors and his ancestors, they are not working together. You need to dump this guy. And when she told me to dump my Nigerian man, I did not understand it at that time because he was my source of income and I did not want to leave him. We finally got married, and after we had gotten married, we stayed together in luxury. Life was so beautiful. My mother was so impressed by him. As time went on, the pregnancies that I kept on losing, I said, if I stay with this guy, then I'm going to die. There is something that is wrong. Why is it that every time when I lose a pregnancy, this guy, I have a dream about him taking my baby, and then I'll be crying, where are you taking my baby to? And he refuses to answer me. And I said, that is it. I am not going to be with this guy anymore. And then I moved on and he begged me to stay with him. And I understood him and he said that I made an investment in you. I married you and I've been taking care of you. I bought a car for you. I started a business for your brother. Yes, my brother, he owns two taxis right now because of the money that he was given by my ex-Nigerian husband. And this taxi that he bought the first time around, it had some mechanical faults. We got them fixed and then he started working as a taxi driver, but he was operating his own taxis. As he was talking about all the financial burdens that I had placed upon him because I come from a poor background, I then understood him because he said, right now, if you dump me, the Home Affairs is going to cancel my visa. Please stay with me until I get a permanent residency. So we went back to the lawyer. The lawyers then explained the situation that if we were to get a divorce, then it meant that his visa was going to be cancelled because there was no need for him to be in South Africa anymore because he was only in South Africa because of me. And if I had no interest in him, then it meant that we were not supposed to have him here in our country. So we stayed. And when I stayed, it was for financial gain. We spoke about it, we sat down, and he said that he was going to give me an allowance. It was a situation whereby I was using the other side of the house and he was using the other side of the house. If he brought in a girlfriend, I did not mind because I was no longer into him because of the way that I had lost many pregnancies. He still called me my wife, still to this very day calls me his wife, but I'm no longer interested in him. So when he got his permanent residency, then I moved out. I started to stay in my own place. He paid for the rentals for the year. He was paying for the rentals until I was on my feet. Now I own several saloons. But what has brought me here is that there is some things that are happening in my family. And when we went to a Sangoma, I was told that I am a ritualist in front of two of my sisters. If they spill the beans to the whole family, people will say that I am a witch. I am the one who has been making people to suffer in the family. Things started to go bad when I was staying with my Nigerian ex-husband. Like I told you that a lot of spiritual stuff used to happen when I was still with him. We had a gardener. This man, for no reason at all, he was only 23 years old. I will call him Mike. He was from Mozambique. We found him dead after we had gone on a vacation. Me and my ex-husband, we went on a vacation, even though we were on separation. He told me that he was going to be alone. If he goes there, he would feel lonely. So he begged me to go with him. I agreed, and then we went together. on that vacation. When we returned back, the moment that he parked his car, he said, there is something that is smelling. When I got out of the vehicle, indeed, there was a big smell, and we thought that maybe the gardener, he had not been emptying the bins and he had not been cleaning dog poop, because we had two big dogs. So we walked to the back of the house where the lawn was, and we saw that the dogs, they were hungry, they were starving to death. And then we quickly rushed and we put some dog food for them, and we gave them some water to drink because they were thirsty. And then we just smelled that the smell was coming from the back room, because we had a back room where our Mozambican gardener was staying. We walked towards them and the smell was too bad. And then my husband, he told me that this guy would have died inside, and he said, let us not open, let us call the police. We immediately called the police. They came and they had the forensic guys, and when they opened, the smell that came out, I don't know how to describe it, the way that it was so smelling. And this guy, he was there on top of his bed. He had drank rat poison, because they found a bottle that had rat poison right next to the bed. And why he killed himself, there is no one that dies. A couple of nights after his body had been removed, I had a dream. I saw a young man that was being forced by two little tokoloshis to drink poison. But this man, he was different from Mike. It was as if I was taken to Nigeria. When I was in Nigeria, I saw a man that was in the fields. He was very young, a young man. As he was walking, he was trapped by two tokoloshis who dragged him close to this other tree, and then they forced him to drink rat poison. He kept on screaming and saying that, I do not want to die, I still want to live. And then they forced him and he drank the rat poison, and then he passed away. When I woke up, I wanted to tell my ex-husband that this was the dream that I had, but the voice just said to me, do not say anything. My spirit is going to fight him to the death. Just remain quiet. So I remained quiet. The day when I left my husband, after we had agreed that finally he could stand on his own, his papers were now out, there was no need for me to be in his life anymore. I had a very weird dream. This dream that I had, I was speaking with a man who was telling me that I won't allow you to leave this house. And I said, why you do not want to allow me to leave this house? And then that man said, because you are my real wife and I am your real husband. It was quite strange, but I woke up anyway and I said that I am leaving. Just as I was about to leave, that was when my ex-husband said, please, can you come here? We went into another room and she said, let us make a covenant. And I said, a covenant for what? He wanted a covenant of blood, but I refused. And he kept on tempting me and he said, okay, please just take this money and let us make a covenant. Since I loved you and you loved me. He then took a needle and he then pushed that needle a little bit into my finger and in his finger until there was blood that was coming out. He mixed the blood and he kissed me and he said, please stay because I still love you. I told him that I could not stay because I kept on losing our babies and I felt as if I was a failure. I just wanted out of the relationship. And then he said, okay, it's fine. I have released you. You can now go. When he said that it is fine, I have released you, you can now go, I felt as if there was a weight that was removed from my shoulders that I had for a long time. I had been feeling this heaviness that was on my shoulders for the longest time. So that is how I got divorced from my Nigerian husband. But in the family, things are happening that I can't even understand. As I am speaking with you, I have a relative of mine who had their maid drink rat poison and they found her the next morning. They don't even know why this maid of theirs drank rat poison. Right now, they need money so that her body can be taken to Malawi. And it is not the first time that it has happened. It's like we have this bad luck of having workers killing themselves in our houses. And when we went to the Sangoma, I was told that it is because of me. And I'm scared that if my sisters tell anyone that this is what I was told by the Sangoma, everyone will say that I am a ritualist, yet I am no ritualist. When I spoke with my Nigerian husband, he said, come back to me and we can sort everything out. It is not a big thing to be sorted out. You just need to be cleansed. We go to Nigeria, but we need to get married first before we go to Nigeria. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Our dear sister is saying that I feel as if I do not have a choice but to return back to my husband so that he can help me to be cleansed. Yo, yeah, ne.